He's known for his crazy mechanics, his rages, and for being the best player in the world.
It's Queasy and Vino, your champion!
This is the story of Veno, how he went from an up-and-coming pro to getting banned and almost losing his entire career to now being the greatest player the game has ever seen. Veno was born on November 26, 2004 in the United Kingdom. He was raised by his father who was English and his mother who was Jamaican, which meant he was mixed. Growing up, he would move all around the UK for his father's work, and because of this, he wasn't able to make many long-lasting relationships. But even then, he was still an energetic kid wanting to try new things. But as he got a little older, he would notice that he didn't look like most of the kids his age, since he had big curly hair and he would get picked on by the other kids. Because of this, he started to become more introverted, and at the age of 11, his parents decided to pull him out of public school and homeschool him. Since he was now at home most of the time, it was hard for him to make new friends. And that's when his brother introduced him to gaming. He would quickly fall in love with it, playing all of the most popular games at the time, and he would begin to make some relationships online because of this. And eventually, like everyone, he would get into Fortnite. Even though he had been gaming for a while, his first tournament would be the Duo FNCS warm-up back in Chapter 2 of Season 2. He would continue to play tournaments for the rest of that season, not seeing too much success. But Season 3, he would see some big improvements. He would make his first earnings in the second FNCS qualifier for solos, and right after place in 2 more cash cups. He would make money again in the third FNCS qualifier, and with that consistency, qual to the heats, where he had a chance to make his first grand finals. But unfortunately, he would only end up placing 88th, not qualling, but that was still an extra 1 grand he earned from it. He would continue to place in some cash cups here and there, and now Season 4 FNCS was coming up, but he would play poorly, not even making it past round 2 for any of the weeks. But lucky for Veno, Frosty Frenzy was right around the corner, and this was his chance to make some pretty good money, and he would do just that, placing in every session and making himself 2 grand in just that weekend. Like before, he would continue to place in some cash cups here and there, and would actually pull off an impressive second place in a solo cash cup. However, Season 5 FNCS was coming up, and this time, Veno would go crazy. After having a decent performance in qualifiers, they were able to just barely make it to semifinals, where they would need a top 8 to make grands. And what do you know, they barely end up placing 8th place, calling them for his first grand finals ever. They would do alright placing 20th overall, getting himself 3 grand, and for a first grands, this isn't that bad considering he was contested. Now going into Season 6, he would actually get picked up by CRR and World Cup winner Aqua. They would do good in the qualifiers making heats, but then disaster struck. Veno would end up getting permanently banned by Epic Games. You see, a few years back when Veno first started playing Fortnite, he actually bought his account so we could get some more skins. And well, Epic doesn't like that, so they decided to ban him right as he started doing well. Fortunately for Veno though, all he had to do was create a new account and he would be fine, but this means he was now unqualified for the solo FNCS All-Stars event. You see, to make finals in this event, you need to do decent in the Season 5 and Season 6 grands. And since he placed 20th in Season 5 and was on track to do good in Season 6, he would now have to play the open qualifiers where only 10 spots were available. There were 4 rounds he had to qualify through. He would do decent in the first 3 rounds, making it all the way to the set finals where he would need to pop off, and pop off he did. He would finish in 2nd place and easily qualify him to the finals. And keep in mind, at this time, Veno was still very underrated with only around 10k earned. Now with the finals coming up, Destiny Jesus, one of the best Fortnite coaches, would help him out. During this time, he would work with a bunch of other high-profile pros like Tayson in order to come up with new strats and be as prepared as they possibly can be for the tournament. So now it was time for Veno to show everyone he had what it took. And if you're familiar with Veno, well, you know how this goes.
Let's go, Veno, you're so good, bro. Nice, Veno, it's fine, 90 points, bro. Let's go, Veno.
Tayson on all walls, but he sees everything through. Finds it, a big match. Tayson takes the ball.
Let's go, Veno. Go, bro. Veno, you just won $120,000, by the way.
Veno would end up placing 2nd place, missing that last shot that cost him 30 grand. Even though he didn't win, he ended up getting 12 times his earnings from that one event. Now FNCS was coming up soon, and he already proved to everyone that he was a top competitor, and he ended up trioing with Razon and Tayson. They would dominate the qualifiers, instantly qualifying to grands. So now with all the pressure on Veno to perform, he would start to get extremely nervous. and this would play a pretty big part in Veno's career. He said before how in solos it's just him, but in trios his teammates are relying on him and he does not want to let them down. And he would actually end up getting so nervous that he would end up throwing up right before the final started. But after all of that, it was time for him to play. And after the first day, they had a very bad performance, not even finishing top 10 on the day. They were able to bring it back a little on day 2 and end up finishing top 5 in the end. Even with a top 5 in Grands though, none of them were happy and they decided to split. And going into the last season of Chapter 2, Vino would actually end up playing with Mongrel and Joe. But this time they would make semifinals but couldn't pull off the Grand Finals qualification. And when Grand Royale came, he wasn't even able to qualify for finals again. So with these poor performances back to back, everyone was getting ready to write Vino off as someone who just did well in one tournament and that's it. But deep down, he knew that he had what it took, and with Chapter 3 right around the corner, it was time for him to grind harder than he has ever grinded before. And going into Chapter 3, it was announced that the game mode is now going to be duos for the rest of the year. And Vino would decide to play with Joe for the first season. They would do decent throughout the season, making grand finals, but he would only end up placing 12th. So again, after not having the greatest performance in Grands, everyone was wondering if he would ever have another good Grands placement. Going into Season 2, Vino wanted to show what he could do, and for FNCS, him and Aqua would reunite and give it one last shot together, and well, Vino did not disappoint.
I'm low, family. Let's go. 61.
Another block by Aqua, the positioning almost perfect. Vino chases it down like a hound dog.
Here we are instead, the winners. No surprise, Vino and Aqua.
After dominating the high ground, Vino would win his first FNCS, earning himself 150 grand. But going into Season 3, things would change. Aqua throughout his career struggled with wrist and hand problems, and because of this, he would have to take a season or two off of playing here and there after things started to flare back up again. And Aqua decided that he would not play this next season. So now Vino was in need of a teammate, and lucky for him, Queasy reached out. At this point, Queasy had multiple FNCS wins already, even winning the first season of Chapter 3. And just like Aqua, Queasy is known for being the king of high ground, and matching with Vino, who is an amazing fragger, they were a perfect match together. And fun fact, in Season 1 of Chapter 3, Queasy was debating whether he should play with Hen or Vino, but ultimately he picked Hen because Hen had better placements. Queasy and Vino would start off strong, with the first 2 Cash Cups they played together getting 1st and 2nd place. And in the first qualifier of FNCS, they would place 3rd, instantly getting them into the Grand Finals. And now it was time to see if this team would work out against the best players on EU. They would end up finishing 3rd place, which is not bad for their first season together, but most importantly, it secured their spot for the upcoming FNCS Invitationals LAN. Now, it's Season 4 and the Invitationals were coming up very soon. They would start this season out strong, placing very well in most of the Elite Weekly Finals. Going into the LAN, they were one of the favorites to win, of course, and being one of the only height-dominant teams, it was looking good for them, and they did not disappoint again.
They have the high ground, they drop down low. The game is theirs after they take down Bevy to end the day. For the team looking to take first place back. Cammy and Seti, and they try to steal it away.
Field blocks it. Field done. Janet stuck up from behind. Queasy with a great follow-up. And oh my gosh, it was so close. But Queasy cut this out.
After an insane performance pulling ahead of all the other teams, it was just Queasy and Vino in 2nd and Kami and Seti in 1st by only 12 points. And here is where they would make the most important decision in that tournament, and that was to take the fight right to them.
At that best drop at that time. What is this? What is this? Queasy, Vino are trying to take it by force.
You only win in one way, and that's taking that crown. Vino is here. Queasy is here. Down goes Seti. It's a big trade. It's a one-on-one. This has to be one of the most explosive head-to-head we have ever seen. Vino has to get this first here. He knows now. It means everything. We might as well seal this deal. Why wait?
Double shield going out. He's trying to bait it. He's trying to bait the revive so that way Cammy might peek. Straight to the wall. Shot's gonna be fired! And they do it! Become legends are on top!
After a moment like that we'll probably never see again, you'd think they'd be happy with the 2nd place, right? Well, I'll let Vino tell you.
We mustn't deny as well that you put on such a great display this last 2 days. I mean, you must be very proud as well, Vino, of what you boys achieved here at Invitational.
No.
No.
Even though they didn't end up winning, we were now progressing into chapter 4, so it was back to the grind. Well, that didn't actually end up happening. I talked about how Vino and Queasy were a very height dominant team already, and the first season of the new chapter was awful for height teams. With the shockwave hammer being introduced, height would get chopped out every 2 seconds, so it made it impossible to work around. And this really demotivated them, especially Queasy, which made him not play as much. And because of this, they would end up placing 4th in grands, which would be fine for most teams. But this team wants to be the best. They don't want to be the second best. So going into next season, they would grind harder than they ever have. After placing 3rd, 1st, and 7th in the qualifier weeks, they easily made it to grand finals, but nobody was ready for the most dominant FNCS performance in EU Grands anyone has ever seen.
From build to build, working in and out of the zone. Every angle just end the game.
Gonna give them a chance to breathe and realize it's a 2v2. He drops down, picks up one, looks for the other, and it's done.
Nice! Come on, man. Maxi. I've got Maxi.
After the HB, Vino tries to find that left shot, and it connects well. Another one, and call EU a monarchy, because we have 2 kings. Down below, Ice Drop looking for one of the shots, but Vino all the way just falls down, now 1v1 for Vino! It's easy! It's easy! It's just too good!
EU Grand Finals Duo Champions. It's official. It has happened. You guessed it. It's Queasy and Vino, your champion!
They would win 6 out of the 12 games and have over 150 points more than second. And with the insane performances, they've locked in their seats for the upcoming Global Championship LAN at the end of this year for their share at $10 million. So I guess now we'll just have to wait and see if they can check LAN winner off of their bucket list. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and go check out the story of Malibuca while you're at it. Peace out.